What's going on, guys? Today we had the day off. Caleb's out running around somewhere, so I'm doing some reel maintenance because it is tarpon season, and for tarpon season you want to bring your A game with your equipment. And something happened yesterday on my trip. We had one of our reels almost get spooled, and my client started panicking. He's like, oh my gosh, all the line's gone, the line's gone, the line's gone. And then I said, no, there's backing there. And he says, what's backing? I said, there's more line under there. You're just seeing the braid leave the reel. Of course, we lost the fish. But it hit me after that. I thought, I wonder how many people don't know what backing is or how to put line on a spinning reel. So today we're going to work on one of our setups, our tarpon setups. It's a Cabo 6000, and it's on a Shimano Terramar. And I usually for tarpon, the way we fish for them, we use 65-pound braid. So we're gonna go with we're gonna use white. I like the visibility for my clients. I like to be able to see it. I like for them to be able to see the line. And for backing, I'm gonna use 14-pound, just regular mono. And the reason I'm using 14-pound to 65-pound is because the diameter is very similar, and it'll fill the spool more evenly, and my knot will be a lot cleaner when I tie them together. So some of the advantages to having backing on your spinning reel before we get started. Well, the reason I'm doing this one to start with, if you notice, I've got about half a spool of reel, or sorry, half a spool of reel. I've got half a spool of line. My mind's going faster than my mouth. I've got about half a spool of line. So when you start noticing that your casts aren't as far, or as accurate, stuff like that, a lot of times that's just because your reel is not full of line. So I'm going to get this off, and then we're going to go into tying our knots and starting with our backing. All right, guys, here we go with the backing. So what we're going to do, first thing is I thread the line just through the bottom eye. I don't thread it all the way up, just so I can work it by myself mostly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a uni knot in this line, leaving a big loop to go around the spool. Okay, so uni knot I use for everything, a few wraps, pull that tight, and I have this big loop. Now, very important step here, open your bail before you put this loop around the spool. Open your bail. Okay, bail's open, loop goes around the spool, pull down tight, snug it up. Now, very important too, because you don't want any tag ends loose on your spool, because that'll cause your line to hang up. So clip all your tag ends. Let me get these things straightened up. Clip all your tag ends pretty close. Keep it real clean. All right, so now that we got that, what have I done? Okay, there we go. Close your bail, ready to put your backing on. All right, and I'm gonna fill, Jake, will you hold that for me? I'm gonna fill about 1/3 of the spool up with monofilament backing. And there's a few reasons why I do this. Number one, a lot of braids, if you tie them straight to your spool, they actually, even once you fill the spool up as tight as you want to put it on there, they won't bite down on the spool. So instead of a fish, when he's running, taking drag and the reel doing its job, you actually wind up with just line spinning on the spool. So you can't adjust your drag or anything like that. Another reason is the backing for a lot of my customers and myself almost works as a warning sign. When I start seeing backing, I know it's time to throw the anchor and get on them, or pull up and start gaining line back to get that braid back on the reel. And then, the biggest reason for me that I use backing is because if you've ever filled a reel with braid, or you've ever bought braid, you know that this is like a $35 spool of braid. So I get 300 yards for $35, $30, whatever. But when I go to take it off, when I'm changing line, I realize I only use the top 100 yards of this braid. I put 300 yards on there. I've only used the top 100 yards. So the bottom 200 yards that haven't been used are either garbage or I got to tie back into them and add more line to it. So it really just, it saves you money by putting the backing on there, because this is line that most of the time you're not going to use anyways. Put a little bit more on here. Okay, that's probably about a third. Look pretty good. All right, so now we're gonna clip this off, and I use, again, the original Power Pro. It's never let me down. I use white, I use high vis yellow. It's just, to me, it's important to be able to see your line. So, and then for our line to line knot, just like we do with our leaders and everything else, I tie a uni to uni. It makes a really small, nice, neat knot. So put a uni knot in that end around both pieces of line, tighten that down, flip it, a uni knot in my braid over the mono. And I don't put a lot of wraps in it at this point, just because I want that knot to be as small as I can get it. Cinch that down together. All right, so now we've got our mono and braid tied together. And with this, again, especially this knot, not so much the knot straight to the reel, but especially this knot, make sure you trim this as close as you can get it without hurting the knot, just because this is the knot that will cause your line to hang up when you're casting and stuff like that, or cause your spool to be uneven. So I'm going to trim this as close as I can get it. And now we have a really nice, neat, clean line to line knot. So now our braid is connected to our backing. Jake, let me get you to hold this again. And finish spooling your reel. And when you're spooling your reel too, make sure you put, like we talked about earlier about casting and not having good distance and stuff on your cast, make sure you put enough line on your reel. You don't want to overfill it, but you do want to get to that outer edge at the top of the spool. If you overfill it, line's going to fly off when you open the bail. It's going to stay tangled, stuff like that. If you underfill it, it tends to hang up on the top of the spool when you cast, and you're not going to get near the distance you would if you had a full spool of line. So make sure you fill that joker up. Get the most out of your cast. Let's see. Love this braid. Love that small diameter. And I mean, you can put a ton of line on here. So I'm probably going to put, I don't think I'll get all 300 yards on here. I'll probably get 150, 200 yards on here. Okay. Like I said, make sure you fill it up. If you can see that top edge on the spool, I'm within probably a 16th to an 1/8 of an inch from being over full. But if you get it to that point, you're going to increase your casting distance, your accuracy, everything's going to be better, and you have all that line on there still to fight, you know, a big fish that's going to take a lot of line. Be careful not to overfill it. Overfill it, you open the bail, line's going to go flying everywhere. So if you got line flying off your reel as soon as you open the bail, you know you've got too much line on it. Take a little bit off, back it down a little bit, and so that's it, guys. That's our tarpon setup. That is this reel's ready for tarpon season. I've got probably you see I use most of the spool. I've got about 200 yards, 65-pound white Power Pro. I've probably got 50, 75 yards of 14-pound monofilament backing. I saved myself a little bit of line I'll be able to use somewhere else by putting that backing on there. And two, I know that's my oh crap button when I start seeing that backing. You know, it's time to get on the motor and start getting some line back. So I hope this helped you guys. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of people. I know there's a lot of confusion on how to spool a spinning reel. And as always, if you got any questions, need any help with anything, you know how to reach me. The number's at the end of the screen. So thanks for watching, and hopefully our next show will be a tarpon show. We're ready to go.